So we were in that first year, I think. The EP was out, we were getting these reviews, and we were thinking, yeah, we should do some shows outside of Oklahoma City. So Wayne began sending out packets to some of the college radio stations, and he must have been talking to some venues and found one in Milwaukee, Madison, and Minneapolis. We rented a van and we went on this 3-show trip up north. I think we must have played Milwaukee and Madison. And then we had a Saturday or a Sunday night off, and then we had another one on Monday, and it was in Minneapolis. So Mark was married at the time, and his wife, this was all new, to her. It sounded like maybe there hadn't been a lot of discussion or something, and she wanted him to come back home during this time. In other words, she was saying, why be out on the road? Why not just come home? I don't know if she knew how far away Minneapolis was, but that's what she wanted. Now, let me see if my memory even can recall whether we went back home or not. It seems like maybe we did, and then went back. This is like the very earliest touring we did, and it was extremely frustrating, of course. And I would say that sort of set the tone of what was going on with Mark. He had a lot of friction back home on any and everything we were planning as far as traveling, and I don't think it was ever resolved. That stress was what he got every time we had another trip planned. So I don't recall exactly how far into the touring, and I don't think we did any 6-week tours with Mark. I know we went to LA. We had a trip planned for LA where we went to the Anti-Club in LA first, and then we went up to the I-Beam, and those were our first 2 shows in California. And I think she went with us on those. This is like a very strong transition. When your local band that you play in decides, hey, we're going to hit the road and we're going to do this, everybody in the band has to be on the same page or it just won't work. And unfortunately, it just wasn't going to work for Mark in that moment at that time. Mark had been taking some heat. People were critical of his singing. He was not as tonal. He was more of a screamer. And I don't think he was that confident in his singing either. He would tell you that. And so I think all of those pieces come together at one moment when we were in Norman playing a gig. And Mark and I remember it was after the show, we went across the street to this bar, and the 2 of us sat, and basically Mark sort of revealed to me that he wasn't going to be able to go on. So that was difficult, See, Mark and I go way back. That 7th grade classmate, who showed me the White Album and told me about waiting in line at the fairgrounds for Led Zeppelin tickets. I mean, I had a lot of respect for Mark. He's a very honest guy and loyal to a friend, and he and I were friends. So it really was hard at that moment for me to hear him say he wasn't going to go on, and, and then how was I going to be about that? And I really kind of shelled up and was like, I can't have an opinion here. I can't. This is a big decision for him. About a day later, Wayne and I went to where Mark was working, and we talked to him. And Wayne was just like, so this is it, man. Are you sure? Are you positive, man? This is like a big deal. Are you sure you want to? And Mark was just like, he's very nervous. And he basically said, look, you just won't work for him and his marriage. And so from there, Mike and Wayne and I sat down there at Tomco and thought about how would we go forward without a singer. And back in my mind, I was always thinking that Wayne could do it. He just had a lot going on with playing guitar, and I think he enjoyed being the Pete Townsend at that time. He used to do a lot of windmills, a lot of up jumps and stuff, and we had a lot of fun together with that. But this time we had to figure out what we were going to do, and the idea of bringing in a singer we entertained it, but there was like, I don't know, I don't think that's gonna do it. And I started to encourage him. I said, I think you can do it. And I think Mike did too. So we agreed that we're gonna try it. And sure enough, it worked out fine. You know, he's the guy writing at that time most of the songs, and that's kind of where we got to with it. And then I swear it wasn't a month or two later when Wayne and his girlfriend Michele had begun booking shows for a big tour, and Michele became our booking manager and our agent. So they had put together a good 6-week tour, and I ended up having to quit my job to do it. And I don't know if Mark just didn't have the work or what, but I think he went with us on that as our roadie. And I remember having interviews with people, and they would be like, Mark's right there. And Wayne would always say, well, he's still my brother, you know, like nothing changed there. So why wouldn't he be here helping us, etc. So that's kind of my story about Mark. Mark and I, for several years there after that, when we were back in town, we would play basketball together over behind this church, one-on-one, back and forth. He was as competitive as I was, and we would go at it. We had a lot of fun, and then when we were done, we'd go back to his house, and I'd sit there with Mark and Leanne, and we just, you know, chill out, get high, laugh it all off.